Assalamu alaikum everybody. My name is Anissa and I work for the Australian Federal Police. I'm here today at the lovely Hatzola facility and I want to say thank you to Hatzola for making this event possible. I have with me your lovely community leader, Alim.
Alim Osman.
And today we're going to be talking to you about community safety and cyber safety. I'm delivering a presentation called ThinkUKnow. This presentation is available to all police across every state in Australia. We've been delivering this presentation for about 10 years. This presentation can shock you and you're going to learn some things that might scare you a little bit, and that's a good thing because what you will find from this presentation is that there are certain things happening online, particularly at the moment because of the COVID lockdown. We've had a lot more people online, and particularly young people online, who are really susceptible to all sorts of scamming and also being coerced. So if you have any questions, please forward those through, and either Tom or Alim will be able to interrupt me, and I'm happy to be interrupted, so you can ask some questions. Let's start that presentation. So ThinkUKnow is Australia's first and only national online safety program. As I said, we've been delivering this for 10 years. When we first started delivering the ThinkUKnow, we were only delivering this to high school students. Now, unfortunately, in the past 10 years, we now have to deliver this to children in kindergarten sometimes. We have children as young as 3 and 4 who are actually getting onto iPads or mum and dad's smartphones and are able to talk to strangers on the internet, or accidentally activating something or providing information to somebody using a smartphone or a device. So if you have an iPad in the house and you have young children who have access to it, or most parents tend to hand their phone to their kids, just be wary of the fact that right now our children have access to information that you and I and Alim didn't have when we were young. And unfortunately, that information can be very dangerous for young people. I'm actually going to start the presentation with a short slide called Carly's story. Carly's story is a true story, and it is the story of a girl who was murdered. She was unfortunately the first victim in Australia to die from being groomed online. And groomed means being coerced online into meeting with a stranger. Unfortunately, she thought she was meeting a 17-year-old boy called Ryan, but Ryan didn't exist. Let's start the story.
Victorian man found guilty of murdering teenager Carly Ryan.
Murdered in 2007 by an online predator and pedophile.
Her attacker had created fictitious online identities to ultimately lure the teen to her death.
Carly was groomed by Gary Francis Newman for over 18 months, posing as a young boy. He convinced my daughter to meet him alone without telling me, and murdered her.
Carly Ryan was 14 when she met a boy called Brandon Kane online.
Carly started to tell me that she started to care for him, and I thought it was a little strange. She began pleading with me if she would be able to meet his family. She was really quite actively asking for that, and so I agreed to talk to whom I thought was Brandon's father on the telephone.
That man was 50-year-old Gary Francis Newman. But Brandon Kane was a figment of Newman's imagination, an internet alter ego designed to get him close to young girls like Carly. Tragically, his web of lies worked. One night in 2007, he convinced Carly to meet him an hour away from her home.
All that I know is that at some point he made some advances towards her. I don't know whether he told her that Brandon wasn't real. But he attacked her from behind and pushed her face into the sand and murdered her, left her for dead. I don't know what she went through, but I don't want to think about it, I really can't.
It's frightening to watch that, and as a parent, I think that is every parent's worst nightmare. Carly's mum was a very good person. She was a single mother raising her daughter to the best of her ability. Carly had been talking to Ryan for 18 months. That's nearly 1 year. Nearly 1 year she was talking to what she thought was a 17-year-old boy. But she was actually talking to a 52-year-old man. When the police arrested Gary Francis Newman, they discovered that he had been talking to, I think it was over 50 girls. A few people have said to me, well, Carly's mum wasn't a good mother and because she should have stopped her. But what you need to understand is that the minute a young man or a girl or a boy get onto the internet and are groomed, the person who is grooming them, whether they be a pedophile or any other kind of criminal, is going to do their utmost to turn your child against you so that they no longer respond or trust what you say. So when Carly's mum had said to her, "You're not going to meet him," Carly said, "Okay, mum, that's fine." But Gary Francis Newman convinced Carly that he was a 17-year-old boy and that he loved her and we need to meet. And unfortunately, as you're all aware, young love is blind, and Carly absolutely believed that she was going off to meet the love of her life. And when we go out and we deliver this to school students, we look at these kids and we say to them, imagine the fear. Imagine the fear in that girl's eyes when she stood on a beach in the middle of nowhere and met with that man and realised, oh my God, I'm all alone here and I've been tricked. She couldn't call her mum. There was no one there to save her. When the police found Carly's body and they were able to identify her, they went back to Carly's house, and obviously Carly's laptop was still open to the conversations that she'd been having with this man. When young people go into a bedroom and they close the door, as parents, we want to trust that they're talking to their cousins, that they're talking to their school friends. But the truth of the matter is, more often than not, they are talking to someone that they do not know in person.
LOLs, that's laugh out loud.
Laugh out loud.
Laugh out loud.
Hey babe. Hey babe.
Babe, but without the B.
Hi, babe.
Hey, baby.
FOMO. FOMO?
FOMO.
FOMO.
For our meeting only.
Are they a band?
I know that one. That's fear of missing out.
Watch movies and hang out?
Watch Netflix tonight.
Watch TV.
So let's get together and relax.
Another slang saying for come over and have sexy times or something.
Happy face in the cloud. Love you.
It's dark and stormy, so we should make out.
Do you love me?
Boyfriend and girlfriend kissing.
I'm thinking of kissing you.
Picture of a hand, a peach, and her eyes open. Nah.
Hi, peach surprise.
Clap butt. Oh my goodness, face.
Hi, would you like a peach?
Trying to cop a feel, maybe?
Grab, touch your butt.
I'm low-key trying to slide into your DMs. I wouldn't have a clue.
It's got to be some sort of a pickup line.
Nah, this one's going to be sexual though, you can tell.
Not sure.
Deepmost soul.
I really like you and I want to get in your...
Pants? Oh, no. Not the damn...
Into their mind. Trying to get into their mind.
Slay. S-L-A-Y.
To kill, to do really well.
Unless it's related to video gaming.
Beaten.
That they're really good at something.
ASL. Don't know.
Ask something later?
Australian Softball League.
Assistant Scout Leader.
No, I got nothing.
Got me on that one as well.
No, don't know.
FWB.
Forward, backwards, I don't know.
Friends with Benefits.
An eggplant.
Eggplant?
Well, that's an eggplant.
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 An eggplant?
Vegetarian.
Okay, so I wonder how many of you actually knew what those abbreviations and what those icons meant. One of the frightening things is that because we now have smart technology and we have memes and emojis and icons, our young people have actually developed languages simply using icons and abbreviation. A little bit like the ancient Egyptians, we have a new language emerging with our young people that most adults just don't know. And unfortunately, especially the eggplant, that actually means penis. So if a boy sent a girl a picture of an eggplant, it's insinuating, I want to send you a photo. Now, most parents just wouldn't get that. So we like to laugh at it and think, haha, that's funny, but it's really frightening to learn that there is a language that's happening beneath the parents' cognition. The parents don't understand. Now, the frightening thing there also, pedophiles, predators, criminals online will also groom young people using this kind of short abbreviation language. And what they'll do is they'll groom your kids into removing them from the safe space of being watched by an adult or guided by an adult, and they will try to get the kids alone. And so, for example, they might say to the kids, I'm going to send you some abbreviations so we can talk. So if the kids are sitting in the lounge room on their phone, if the mum is looking over like this, looking over the shoulder of their child, who are you talking to? The child will type POS, parent over shoulder, so that the person they're talking to will keep the conversation clean. But the minute the parent's gone, then they might start sexting again. And sexting is basically talking about sex or flirting. And sometimes it can mean exchanging really bad photos. Technology is now a big part of everyday life for our young people, and we've got 3-year-olds who can swipe and use iPads. Pretty frightening that they pick it up so quickly. It has huge benefits, and I especially say this because particularly having family in other homelands, having smartphones and internet technology means that you can actually communicate with family, and that's a fabulous thing. That is a wonderful thing, that you can text, email, Facebook, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Instagram, and use all of these great platforms to talk to family. Unfortunately, if you're not careful with your settings and if you don't lock down your settings, particularly with like Facebook, for example, if you have your settings to open, everybody can see your posts. WhatsApp is quite good because it's secure, more secure. But if you have your social media settings set to public, and most young people do because they think, I need to be popular, I need to be out there, and I need to have as many friends as possible. If a young person had 2,000 friends, I would say easily 900 of them were criminals or pedophiles or people pretending to be someone else so that they can get access to their information. What young people don't understand is that there are a few really important things that we are concerned about as adults and as the police. Relationship management, privacy management, and information management. Relationship management is who are you talking to and why. Privacy management is how much of yourself are you sharing online? Where do you go to school? What's your full name? What address? Where do you live? And privacy management, unfortunately, if you are basically putting all of your information out there to the world, you will really be open to online scammers, pedophiles and other criminals. And as we go through this, I'll talk a little bit about how that impacts on you. What we are seeing now is we've got this entire cohort of the younger generation coming through, and they will emulate what their older brothers and sisters do and what their parents do. So if you've got a teenager who's sitting on the couch for 4 hours playing Fortnite, and Fortnite is, for example, has been deemed the most highly addictive game that's ever been invented. Fortnite is very dangerous. The reason it is dangerous is because you cannot pause or stop the game. You can get in and play it and it continues. When they get off, it keeps going. So if you've built a castle and you've got cows and sheep and all these other things in the game, when you get off, you're still thinking about it. Now imagine a kid in year 7. He spent 4 hours on Fortnite and did all this great stuff and he was having heaps of fun. But when he finally put the phone down at 10 o'clock at night, the next morning when he goes to school, all he's worried about is, have the armies come in and taken over my lands? Do I still have sheep and cows? They're worried about that. Now, I want you to imagine that as an adult, if you had a loved one in hospital, you'd be constantly worrying about them. Every half an hour you'd be like, I wonder how they're doing, I wonder how the operation went, I wonder how they're feeling, did they come through it okay? Constantly worrying. The same thing happens with a kid who's addicted to playing online games. Their head, their mind is there, they're not focusing on what's happening. And we've been out to schools where teachers have said to us, we've got kids who are failing because they come to school so tired because they were up all night playing games, and they cannot concentrate on what's in front of them because they're worried about getting online again. So if you've got family and friends who play Fortnite, there's 2 things you need to know. 1, highly addictive and very dangerous because of that. And 2, Fortnite, Age of Warcraft, all of the online games, all of them are what we police call pedophile heaven. There's a very, very good chance that your young person, and it could be a 17-year-old, is playing against a fat, white, 75-year-old man whose name is Harold, who just happens to like kids. And what they do is they'll get online and play games with these kids and try to win their trust. And they'll send a message saying, hey, can I join your gang? And most kids will go, oh, sure, no worries. And then they will all get together online as a gang and play. And what the pedophile will do is start sending messages. Hey, what's your real name? Where do you live? Do you live in Melbourne or are you in Adelaide? Are you in Sydney? What school do you go to? And they'll pretend to be a 10-year-old kid or a 17-year-old girl. And this is how they groom information. And if they can manage to get your child's real name, then they'll try and find them on Snapchat, WhatsApp, Instagram or Facebook. So Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, Minecraft, these are all games that kids want to play, and unfortunately highly addictive. And as I said, Fortnite is the worst. What I would say is use online gaming as a reward. If you try to say to your kids, no, you're not allowed to do it, they'll do it behind your back. Use it as a reward system. They come home from school, take off their school uniform, do their homework, and if they finish their homework and you've checked it and they've done it, then they could have 45 minutes or an hour of online gaming, depending on the age group. Certainly, I wouldn't be encouraging anyone under the age of 12 to be doing more than an hour of online gaming. You will find that you will have kids struggling to get through year 10, 11 and 12 if you do not monitor online gaming. Social networking and dating. Do you know, I was talking to Aleem off camera before and I said that, you know, when we were young, if you liked a boy or a girl, you kind of would sort of say to your friends, oh, you know, isn't he cute? I like him. Isn't he handsome? Or isn't she nice? And, you know, you would try to find out where they were going to be. They're going to be at that event or they're going to be at that gathering. And so you'd dress up nicely and go and kind of, you know, oh, there they are. Aren't they great? Our kids don't have to work that hard. Our kids just pick up their phone, find them on social media in a heartbeat. Pop their name in, there they are, add friend. Now, there are pros and cons. The pros are that to some degree, this is a halal way to chat, because if they can talk just by phone, that's okay. At what point does the relationship become toxic? Teenage boys can be very impulsive and they don't think terribly clearly. Teenage girls are worse, because if a teenage boy messages a girl, she'll be like, oh my God, he messaged me, he must like me, and she's already planning the wedding, right, in her head. So if a boy messages her, hi, how are you? The conversation will start up straight away. And if he was to say to her, send me a photograph of you without your headscarf on. Do you know what? I have been out to every Muslim school in Victoria, and this is so common. It happens in all schools, not just Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Sikh, Hindu. It doesn't matter what the religion is. All boys are the same. They will request photos of the girls, and the girls are all giddy and they will send a photo. So if a girl takes off her headscarf and she sends a photo to the boy, then he can say, oh my God, mashallah, you're gorgeous. Send me a better one. And she'll say, what do you mean a better one? Send me a sexy one. Then if he really has the girl wound around his finger, she'll do that. She'll send a sexy photo. Now he's got two photos, the one without the headscarf and maybe one without her top on. You would be shocked to know how many of these young men, Muslim or not, will then blackmail the girl for more photos. Now, if you do not send me better photos, I'm going to put these on Facebook. And they do. They do put them on Facebook. They put them on WhatsApp. They put them on Snapchat. They put them on Instagram. I've been out to schools where young people have committed suicide because they were being blackmailed. I've been out to schools where girls have been bullied so badly by their peers because something was released online that they didn't approve of, where girls have self-harmed, where depression has basically crippled them and they can no longer go to school, or they've been forced to move from that area with their family to another school. So here's some messaging. 1, if a young man pressures a girl for a photograph and she sends it to him, he is now guilty of using a carriage service for transmitting child pornography if the girl is underage. So that's a serious crime. 2, the minute a young man gets a hot photo of a girl that he likes, if she says to him, I don't like you anymore, you're dumped, the first thing he's going to do is take that phone and go up to his mates and go, hey, check her out, and he's going to share that photo. Once a photo like that has been released, do not come crying to the police to help you. We can't help you. It can take up to 2 weeks to get a photo pulled down off Facebook. There is no magic delete button, because even if it's taken down off Facebook, the chances are it's been shared 1,000,000 times. Now let's fast forward to that young girl now, having grown up. She's 18, she's done well at school, she's done well going through uni, and she applies for a job. Did you know that the first thing that will happen when someone applies for a job these days, they will get Googled? This doesn't matter whether you're in year 10 and you're going for your first job at Kmart, Big W, KFC, Macca's. They will Google a young person's name to see what comes up. Now, imagine that this young girl has gone for a job working in as an apprentice, and they Google her and up comes a nude photo. What does she say in the job interview when that happens? Alternatively, let's imagine it's a young guy and he's posted heaps and heaps of photos of people hanging burnouts, someone doing something stupid like spray painting on a railway track, or graffitiing, or doing something stupid. If he's even been tagged in it and he didn't post it, just tagged, that will come up. So when you go for your job interview, that person, well, they might not even bother calling you in for the job interview because your reputation has been tarnished. When I go out and talk to kids at school, I always say to them that, particularly, like, I understand the Muslim community very well, and I also understand Muslim parents. And they're no different to Christian parents or Jewish parents, but they all want their kids to do really well in school. And there's a lot of pressure. At the end of the day, getting 99.9 for your Year 12 result means absolutely nothing if your child has been actively online posting rubbish and has destroyed their own reputation. I'll say that again. If your child is posting rubbish online by the time they go for a job interview, or they want to go for a job interview, they might not even get in. In 2017, Harvard University rescinded over 500 invitations to young people who had been admitted. That means that there were 500 people who had been accepted into Harvard University, and Harvard University decided to do a background check. And they went in and discovered that a lot of these young people had posted stupid photos of them drinking, partying, maybe hanging burnouts, just doing stupid things. And they just thought, you know what? These aren't the kind of people that we want. So think carefully about your child's reputation, because it may be more important than their education. I know for a fact that the Australian Federal Police only will have around 200 vacancies for an intake or an enrolment. We will get 2,000 applicants. And before we even consider interviewing any of them, our Human Resources Department will go in and Google all of them. And it will be literally, he's hanging a burnout in the car? Nope, not suitable for a police officer. She can't stop posting selfies of herself. Not suitable for a female police officer. This one has put up photographs of him drinking and dancing on a table. No. And that is how quickly your child's life can change. Instant messaging. When we go out to schools, we talk about encouraging critical thinking. As adults, parents already have this. Parents will think, if I do that, what's going to happen afterwards? What will be the result of that action? Kids don't think that way. Children do not have that lens. They don't have the fear. Adults worry about strangers. Adults worry about their child's safety. Young people don't. They become keyboard warriors and they will talk to anybody and often give out too much information about themselves. When we go out to schools, we actually talk to sometimes hundreds of kids at a time, and we will say to these young people, let's see, are there any police officers here? Because we want you to show us your critical thinking skills, your problem-solving skills. And one of the questions that I will put to you today is this. You saw the story about Carly. She talked online, emailing a man that she thought was a 17-year-old boy. What could she have done differently using the technology that she had to have prevented what happened, to have saved her own life? What could she have done differently? I'd love to get some suggestions from you to see if anyone can think of what that answer is. Okay, video and image sharing. Gosh, it's easy now to send videos, and unfortunately, when you send a video and it's been shared, you can never get that back. You do need to be very careful. A lot of young people often ask us that if they see a crime being committed, should they video it? And they sort of think, oh, well, if I see a fight, I'll pull out my camera and I'll video that because then I can give that to the police, which is really admirable. That is a lovely thought. However, if a couple of men are fighting and you pull out your phone and they see you fighting, they might come after you. So we don't necessarily encourage people to film a crime happening if it's going to endanger you, okay? So that comes down to critical thinking. A lot of young people see something, go pull out their phone, but it could put them in danger. So we really don't encourage people to use their phones to solve a crime unless you're in a safe place where you can do that. You might be on a 30 where they can't get you, that might be okay. But don't use your phone to try and solve crimes if you're putting yourself in danger. It is the same thing with disasters. You know, sometimes people see fires and things like that and they pull out their phone and they stand there filming, not realising they could be putting themselves in danger. So privacy, reputation and relationships we've already talked about. I really need you to think about all of those things, and as I will keep coming back to this. Relationships that happen online are not real. Anybody can pretend. I could right now get from Alim a couple of names from the community, and I could go home tonight and I bet with a little investigation I could become friends with you or your kids. I could pretend to be a hot 17-year-old girl called Tiffany wearing a low-cut top, and I bet I could become friends with some of the boys in your community because they will look at that picture and go, man, she's hot. I could pretend to be a cute-looking Uyghur boy who looks a little bit like Justin Bieber, and I bet I could become friends with some of the girls too. And as parents, you might be thinking, oh no, my kid wouldn't do that. Trust me, they would. Okay, family privacy. I'm going to give some examples here. I'm not sure how Uyghur weddings happen, but Muslim weddings are usually big, loud, lots of food, lots of colour. My daughter is half Indian, half Australian, and she married a Lebanese boy. So the wedding was Aussie, Indian and Lebanese. So we had one night where there was gift giving of gold. And I had to make sure that everybody who was in the room did not film that, did not take photos of that. Because you can speak to any Victoria police officer, pardon me, who lives in an area where these kind of cultural weddings happen. People take photos of the gold, people take photos of the money, people take photos of the bride maybe with money pinned to her or given to her, and if they're stupid enough to push the pin, which is where are you, criminals now know exactly where their next hustle will be. There's been instances where on the day before the wedding they have a celebration and the bride is given gifts. Could be a new watch, could be gold jewellery for the wedding, it could be anything, money. And if someone is stupid enough to put that up and there's enough information there for a crook to know, oh, that's the house down the street, those houses have been knocked over. Those houses have been robbed and everything's been taken. There was an instance, and this one will really shock you, of a girl who was in grade 3 and she actually put on Facebook that she was having a slumber party for all of her friends. And she'd hit the pin which tells you where she lived. She had about 10 girls over to sleep. The mum and dad were there watching the girls, but of course, you know, girls being girls, they talked and giggled all night and watched videos. And one of the girls must have opened and unlocked the back door, probably to let the cat in or out. Because they had let their address out on Facebook, that night, in the middle of the night, a man walked in the back door, picked up a girl in the sleeping bag, took her into the backyard and he assaulted her. How easy was that? There was another instance of a girl who actually put onto Facebook that I'm at the airport with my family. We're going back to Ankara in Turkey to visit my grandmother. She's 98. I can't wait to see her. I haven't seen her since I was 10. This will be the last time I will see her because she's very old and she's sick. I cannot wait to see my grandmother. Goodbye, Melbourne. She had been silly enough to actually put in a map from her house to where she was going in Ankara. The next day, a furniture truck backed up the driveway. They opened the back doors. They found a key to the house under the back mat, got in, and they started emptying the house. And they moved all the furniture, television, everything into the van. Now, the next door neighbours were good people, and they stuck their head over the fence and they went, "What are you doing?" And the truck driver went, "Oh, Hannity is going to Turkey with her family because the grandmother actually just died while they were on the plane. So now they're going to live there, so they want us to ship all their furniture." And the guy next door said, "Oh, okay, I'll give you a hand." Emptied the house. School photos can be very dangerous if kids are leaking too much information about where they are, what school they go to. Now, you can look at me and I'm wearing a hat with the AFP logo on it and a t-shirt, and you even know which team I'm in. And this is no different to a child being in a school uniform. So if kids post silly photos, letting too much information about who they are. When the federal police go in to issue a warrant to a pedophile, they will open up a computer and they will find hundreds and hundreds of photos of school-aged children in their uniform. Innocent photos, but what the federal police have to do then with Victoria Police is then go out and make sure that every single one of those kids has not been approached by a stranger. Or has he been online grooming them? So that short clip just quickly shows you how one undelivered message can mean the difference between correct communication and miscommunication. Unfortunately, we live in a world where everyone sends text messages and they stop picking up the phone and talking to each other. This can mean that, if I message somebody and they message me back, I could read that in a way that has upset me, but it wasn't meant to be sent that way. And so what we see often is a real challenge in that young people now are often becoming aggressive with each other because of miscommunication, and parents are the same. So I can't urge enough how important it is that if there is an issue with your child, or your child is experiencing issues with other kids, talking is the best way to solve an issue. It's never texting, never texting. Texting can only make things worse, and it can cause a breakdown in relationships. Your child's mental health is very important, and unfortunately modern technology isn't necessarily going to help with that. The old-fashioned sitting down and talking things through is the best way to go, especially when with an adult to a child. Sexting we've covered, and sexting can be flirting, talking, sex, sending photos.
It wasn't a daydream. Hey Emily, you ready for school?
Okay, so that video is actually really good because it just shows how, how much a pedophile will pressure a young people to send those photos. And they will do it with positive reinforcement. You are gorgeous, you've got a hot body. If it's a boy, they'll say, man, you're a spunk, you know, you're hot, bro, send me a photo of your muscles. If it's a girl, it'll be saying things like, you're so beautiful, you should be a model. I mean, what girl doesn't want to hear that? All girls want to hear that. Young men can be groomed. 17, 18, 19-year-old men can be groomed. And they could be groomed by another man pretending to be a hot blonde. And I actually know a young man that this happened to, and this girl sent all this sexy video of her and said, send me one of you, and he was stupid enough to do it. And then she got back to him, and he was like 22, and she got back to him and she said, if you do not send $10,000 to this account, I'm going to put this on YouTube. So don't think that if you're, you know, young, your son is immune to this, and that it only happens to little girls. It happens to everybody. Online grooming we talked about, and basically grooming can happen in multiple levels. It could be religious grooming from someone who claims to be a scholar in Islam and you know, is trying to recruit, and ISIS were very, very good at that. It could be pedophile or sexting grooming. It could be from someone who is wanting to find someone to carry drugs overseas for them. It could be gang members, organised crime. I mean, there are so many different types of online grooming. And online grooming will even happen in the older community to people who are over the age of 50 who might have lost their husband or wife, whether it was through a divorce or a tragic loss due to cancer or some horrible thing where they've lost their partner. These people are now really lonely, and it's really easy to groom someone over the age of 50. And unfortunately, the Australian Federal Police who work at the airport will tell us that on a daily basis, they will have men and women, older men and women, who will be standing at the luggage carousel with flowers and chocolates and their phone, waiting for their person that they fell in love with overseas to come off the plane. And often the police will go up and say, you know, you've been standing here for 3 hours, is everything okay? And they'll say, yeah, I sent $10,000 to my girlfriend or to this man, and he's coming over and we're going to get married. And these people never arrive. It's a scam. Cyberbullying. Look, cyberbullying, Australian Federal Police and Victoria Police take this very, very seriously. When we go out to primary schools in particular, we often split up the boys and the girls. And I can say this hand on heart, boys in primary school will have a fight and then they'll share a pie at lunchtime and they're friends again. Girls will fight for years. If the fight starts in Year 7, it's still going on in Year 12. Girls are often worse than boys. With cyberbullying, unfortunately, when we were young and we went to school, if there was someone at school who was teasing us or being mean to us, when we went home, we felt safe. When we were on the holidays or on the weekend, we felt safe because those bullies weren't near us. But now we've got young people who are being bullied and bullied and bullied and harassed 24/7. It's text messages. It's pictures, it's messages on YouTube, it's nasty videos posted on Facebook, it's WhatsApp, it's Instagram. And it is relentless. So the mental health of young people being exposed to this constant barrage of negativity has led to more suicides of young people than we've ever had in Australia before. It is ridiculous that you would have a 10-year-old kid considering suicide. I get very upset when I talk to kids from religious schools in particular, because I say to them, if you have a religion, you have a path and you have a role model and you have guidance. And so it's taught in scripture that, you know, being mean to someone is not okay. So there shouldn't be any excuse for that. But we also say to young people, it is not beyond the reach of the law that a young person won't have their parents hauled into court. If the barrage of cyberbullying is so bad and it is deemed bad enough, kids, parents will be hauled in. And this isn't before the Victoria Police have visited your school and met with the parents. So consider it very seriously, young people. Don't think that because you're 12 there's no repercussions to you bullying someone. We take it very seriously, so do Victoria Police. Building resilience, well, that's easier said than done, isn't it? As parents, I will say, I would suggest that the Uyghur community is one of the most resilient communities I've ever met. You guys have come to Australia for a better life and worked very, very hard and become, you know, wonderful Australian citizens. So I would say that the adults already are quite resilient. Teaching that in our children is a really hard thing to do. So one of the things that I would say is try and encourage your kids to get off the internet and get more involved in the community. The more our children spend time outside, whether that's community events, whether that's participating in wider community events with people who are not Muslim, but getting more involved outside will help to develop character and will help to develop a child's ability to feel a sense of community. If you have a sense of community and belonging, then you will do anything to protect the community you live in. So I really do encourage young people and adults especially, try and encourage your kids to get more involved, whether that's sport, whether that's some sort of club after school, whether that's volunteering, but get involved with the wider community and spend less time on the internet.
We were really impressed with your resume, Miss Brown.
Not to mention your academic transcript. And I see here you've won several awards for university projects.
Yes, and I also volunteer on weekends.
I also see you're into taking selfies.
And tagging friends in embarrassing photos.
And posting status updates about your incompetent boss.
So that's a cheeky little video that basically will show you how embarrassing it is to go for a job interview and they've Googled you and found rubbish. They found that you posted nasty things about your boss, that you are disrespectful towards the people that you work with. These are all really bad things. These are things that will damage your reputation. No, who would want to employ you? As I keep saying, getting 99.9 in your year 12 will not get you a job if you do not have integrity, if you cannot show respect to other people, and if you do not have a good online reputation. A digital footprint is important. It's important to have that because what it does show is a history of your life that's positive. But if that's negative, you'll be in trouble. I'm not saying don't post things on the internet. I'm saying be very careful what you post. And we often say that if your grandmother wouldn't like it, don't post it. And I say particularly to girls, don't get caught up in the selfie thing. Don't get caught up in the duck face selfie. You know, this is me and this and all these. It just makes you look selfish and self-centered. I wouldn't want to employ somebody who can't stop taking photos of themselves. It's sad that we're in a situation now where girls feel I have to validate themselves. That is sad. I know that a lot of people who would love to become professionals will never get there because they post too many negative things about themselves on the internet. Digital shadow. And that photo there is quite calm. That's not a bad one. We see worse. Taking action. Teaching our young children to be responsible online it's a frightening thing. And as parents, I said before, you already have the fear in your heart of strangers. You're already a little bit worried about that. But unfortunately, we're at an age where we have to play catch up because our kids are smarter on the internet than we are. Our kids, we often hand our phones to our kids and go, can you fix this? And our kids will do that. But as parents, you might feel, okay, I'm not good on the computer and I'm not great with my phone, but you have one thing that your children don't have. You have the fear in your heart for the unknown. You are protective of your children, and unfortunately, our kids are not protective of themselves. So even if your kids say, oh man, you're driving me mad, you know, you're overreacting, don't ever feel that you're overreacting. Being a good parent is tough, and I'm saying that I'm congratulating you for watching today and wanting to learn more. We really appreciate you coming on board to listen to this. Don't ever be sorry that you are protective with your kids, with particularly what they're doing online. Support lines, these kids helplines, Headspace, reach out, but I would also encourage you, if you have any queries or your child comes to you, kids from Muslim families, and I'm speaking from experience, will often be scared to come to their mum or dad because they think they're going to get in trouble. And that's a really hard call. So I would say that it's important to say to your children, if something happens online that you're scared about, you need to be able to tell me. And as parents, you have to be calm and not overreact. Now, I'll give you an example. When my son was in year 10, he had to do an assignment on angels. And so he typed angels into Google. But the angels that came up weren't wearing any clothes and were draped over motorbikes. And I heard him laughing from the lounge room. So I went up and I said, what's so funny? And he kind of put his hand over the screen and he went, and I went, what is it? And he showed me. And I said, how did you end up on that website? And he said, I typed in angels and it came up. And unfortunately, the link that he'd clicked on was porn. It was adult porn. He didn't mean to, it just opened and there it was. And so I had a chat to him and I said, well, you had a good look. Not appropriate, let's just close that off. And I said, you really need to be very careful with what you click on. He said, but I only wrote angels, and that's what came up. So be open to your kids. Don't be angry with them if they come to you and they've made a stupid mistake. And that's, as a parent, that's hard. We all want to overreact, but it's much better for our kids to tell us when they're in trouble than to hide it. If you have any queries or you don't know how to block or delete someone online, speak to a community leader like Alim. You've got lovely Peter O'Hare from Victoria Police. There will be other people in your community who will be able to help you. If you really, really get stuck, go online and have a look, because you'll be able to even Google, how do I block someone? Google can be a fantastic tool if you use it correctly. How do I block someone? How do I stop someone from doing this? How do I know if this is wrong? You can Google pretty much anything and find out. You can even take a photograph of someone and put it into Google image search, and find out exactly who they are. And you might be able to work out if someone was real or not by using that. So you can report to Crime Stoppers, of course, Victoria Police, the Office of the E-Safety Commissioner, and with every media service that you use, whether it's TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, they all have report buttons. It's just a matter of having a look. I think it's usually up on the top right-hand corner, but there's usually a report button where you can actually go in and report something. It is important to be careful with locking down your software, and I know that's frightening because I'm not very good at computers either. But what I will say is, especially with your password and your Wi-Fi access, be very careful, because somebody can park their car outside of your house and access your Wi-Fi if you don't have it locked down. And I'll give you an instance. There was an instance where the Federal Police discovered that a lot of horrible child pornography had been downloaded to an IP address, and when the Federal Police knocked on the door, it was a lovely husband and wife and 3 kids. So of course, the husband and wife had to be interviewed, and they were innocent. Their laptops and everything were checked, there was nothing there. We couldn't work it out. We worked out that it was the man next door. The man next door had access to his neighbour's Wi-Fi, and he used that to download illegal material. I met a lovely Sikh man once who told me that his 6-year-old daughter had been talking to men online. And I said, really? And he said, and I can't work out how she's doing it because she doesn't have internet access on her phone. So I said, tell me a little bit about, where do you go with her? And he said, well, we walk past McDonald's every night and she always has to go to the toilet there, or I buy her an ice cream. Well, Wi-Fi is free at McDonald's. So her father would stand outside, she'd go inside, connect her phone to the Wi-Fi and chat to strangers. Keep an eye on your children, particularly with the amount of internet that they access. You will often get messages on your phone that will say, congratulations, you've won a $100 gift card from Harvey Norman, or Coles, or a free Dyson vacuum cleaner. You'll get all sorts of messages, and kids read that and go, oh wow, we've run $100, Mum, and Mum will go, whatever, and you'll click on it. And if you click on it, you could end up clicking onto a link that will actually still access from your phone, or let someone have access to your intimate details. Do not enter your email into any random websites. And especially if you see, I don't know if you've ever seen, sometimes you go into a shopping centre and you see free car lottery, as in a free raffle. Why would someone give away a car without raising money for a charity? If it is a free raffle, then the chances are that that is a car that has no engine in it, and that is a scam, and they will say, we want your phone number, we want your email address, and we want your name. They might even ask for your home address. But your phone number and your email address are very valuable to scammers. And so they might get 20,000 people who write down their phone number and their email addresses, and that gets on-sold, and no one wins a car. Okay, it's important to try and establish some rules with your children, and that's just an example of a contract. It's all very well and good to have a family contract. I don't think it would work in my house. I just say to my children, if you talk to someone online that you don't know, you're never going to meet them alone. And if you have any concerns at all, you should block them. And realistically, your children should not be talking to someone that they do not know. If they don't go to school with them, if they don't live next door, if they don't play basketball with them or soccer, if they do not know them personally, you shouldn't be talking to them. Okay, questions. If anyone has any questions, please send them through. Don't be shy.
I think I have a couple of questions.
Couple of questions? Okay.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much, Anissa.
You're welcome.
Giving us so much information. And the question is, my question actually, in the case the girl been murdered, Carly's case.
Yep.
So what do you think if she did at the beginning to prevent her?
Good. Thank you for listening. See, you're smart. That's why you're a community leader.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
What could Carly have done differently?
Yeah.
We have a lot of technology available to us, and unfortunately, I think our age group, we don't think about how we can use that. Mm-hmm. Young people are already doing it, but we're not. If Carly had said to Brandon, video call me, a 52-year-old man could not have pretended to have been a 17-year-old boy to camera. If she had simply video called him on WhatsApp or Facebook or any of the carriage services.
So simple as that.
As simple as that, a video call. Now, what he would have done, he would have gone, oh, my video's broken, my camera's not working, I don't have any internet access, blah, blah. Excuse, excuse, excuse. That is your delete and block. You're lying to me, you're not real.
Okay.
And I heard a very good one where a man was being groomed by a lady, and he said, you sent me this gorgeous photo, you know, if you are real, send me a photograph of you right now holding an orange or a piece of fruit. Now, he had 1 million photos stolen of this woman, but there's no way he could do that and pretend to be this hot woman. So there are simple things you can do. Send me a photo right now of you holding an orange or a piece of fruit. Video me, video call me. And it's that simple. That's how you can tell whether they're real or not.
Okay, that's a very good answer.
Yeah.
Second one is, as a parent, I mean, what they should do to prevent cases like that happen in the future to the kids.
That is a tough one, because I think as a parent you have to be understanding that, and I'm sure within the Uyghur community, you know, parents are strict. You know, my parents were strict. I wasn't allowed to go and meet a boy.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have to accept is that our boys and girls are talking to each other.
Yeah.
That's okay, they can talk. We need to know how they're communicating, what are they saying to each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty safe to say that if they're teenagers, the hormones are already rushing, and you know, most girls will think already planning what they're going to wear, what kind of wedding dress. I mean, 12-year-old girls look at wedding dress pictures because, you know, that's something that they aspire to.
Yeah.
It is important that our young people be able to talk to their parents, and that's hard because we do have a gap between adults and kids, and we've got all this internet and cyber capability that is a block between the two. So what I say to parents is trust your instinct and trust your heart. It doesn't matter that you're not good on a computer. Be patient with your children and just say to them, come and talk to me. You know, if you like a girl, tell me about her. Talk to me about her. You know, don't hide it behind my back. Talk to me about her. It doesn't mean you're going to get married straight away. Talk to me. Tell me if there's a boy you like. You know, even if they tell their brothers or sisters, an older sibling, but someone should have an idea who they're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
A big concern is when young people, let's imagine, do you have any children?
Yeah, I have 2 kids actually.
How old are they?
14 and 16.
Perfect ages, all right. Let's imagine I'm the 14-year-old. We're in the lounge room watching television and you're sitting right there and I'm on my phone doing this. And then I get up and I go to my bedroom. And you say, where are you going? And I say, it's too noisy here, I can't concentrate, I'm talking to my friend about homework. Well, you'd believe me. So he goes to the bedroom and closes the door.
Yeah.
But the truth is he could be talking to a 75-year-old fat white pedophile called Harold who lives in Adelaide.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks he's talking to a hot blonde who's 14 wearing a low-cut t-shirt. That's how easy it is for our kids to walk out of the room and now have a private conversation that you're not aware of. It is a hard one. I encourage parents to have the phones on recharge at night in the kitchen, not next to their bed. If the phone's next to their bed, they're going to keep checking it through the night. The screen of a phone emits a UV light that's a stimulant, and kids who've been on the phone until 10 or 11 o'clock at night will take at least an hour to fall asleep afterwards because they've been so stimulated by the light. The little blue light, there's a little light that flashes when your phone's messaged.
Yeah.
That's highly addictive to children. They'll see it in the middle of the night and they'll keep checking their phone. There was one instance of a lady who came up and told me a funny story, and she said, my 10-year-old daughter was addicted to her phone. So I made a deal with her that she would get a new bike, but she had to leave the phone every night on the fridge. So the daughter said, okay. And so for about 6 weeks, the daughter would put the phone on the fridge. And the mother thought, I'm doing a good job here, I'm a very good parent. Until one morning, the mother went out and picked up the phone and it was just the case. The daughter was still taking her phone to bed with her every night. So if you put the phones on charge in the kitchen, that's a start. And it's just really important to be aware that if your child is spending a lot of time in their bedroom with the door closed, there's a very good chance they could be groomed.
Okay.
Because pedophiles and predators, whether it be a 17-year-old boy, will say, go into your bedroom and close the door. So I've got you alone now. There have been instances where pedophiles have hacked computers and turned on the laptop camera so they can watch girls and boys getting undressed, and they don't know. It's being live streamed.
So basically...
Close your laptop at night. Always close your laptop. If you're concerned about the camera on your screen, You can stick a blob of blue tack over it or some sticky tape.
Yeah.
And be very, very careful about giving away too much information about yourself, especially with clicking on links that you don't know and allowing people access.
So basically you try to build as much trust between you and your kids.
Yes.
And talk to them.
Yes.
As much as possible.
And try not to be angry, because as parents, the minute we know that our daughter or son likes someone else, culturally and religiously, we're like, oh my God, here we go, is a wedding coming. But we need to make sure that that relationship is okay, that that person is who they say they are to start with. So if your 18-year-old son is talking to an 18-year-old girl, we need to make sure that is an 18-year-old girl and that she's not someone else, that he's not being groomed online, you know. And I say to parents, use the technology that you have, and if your son is talking to a girl online, Google her. Put her name in. Tiffany Blogs. Is that a real person? Does she really exist? You can even enter that photo into Google image search and see if there really is a Tiffany Blogs, because it might not be her. It might be a stolen photo. Use the information and the technology that you have to help solve any issues that you have.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, another question is comes to internet grooming.
Yep.
We know a lot of Muslim kids groomed, then at the end they went to Syria to join ISIS.
Yes.
Especially. So then, even our community members sometimes ask, so all this grooming process, what the parents did to stop this happening?
Yep.
So what do you think we should do to stop this happening?
So I've been out to mosques where mosque leaders have actually said to me, how do you know if your child is talking to someone from ISIS, for example? And the answer to that is actually really simple. If someone is talking to your child and they are trying to radicalise them or bring them into their group, the very first thing they will do is pull your child away from the protective circle of their family, their imam, their community leaders, their school teachers, anyone who is looking out for them in the community, they will pull them aside. So what is your 16-year-old, is it a son or a daughter?
Daughter.
Daughter, what's her name?
Claire.
Claire.
Yeah.
Let's imagine that I'm from ISIS and I'm talking to Claire. I'm going to say things like, Claire, honestly, you should not be listening to your mum and dad because they are not good Muslims. You need to come into the fold. I'm going to show you the true path. God has chosen you. What person, what Muslim would not be touched by the words, God has chosen you? So they will use religion to pull you in.
Yeah.
And I will say to Claire, your father is not a good Muslim. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'll say things like, I'll get nasty. He doesn't have a beard. He doesn't dress like the Prophet. And Claire's going to go, oh, hang on a minute. My dad doesn't have a beard. He doesn't dress like the Prophet. I'm going to drive a wedge between you and Claire. Does your wife wear a headscarf?
No.
Oh, she's a bad Muslim too. So this is what they say.
So that's how they pull
kids
away.
They will pull her away. And it is heartbreaking. The police are heartbroken when we talk to parents whose children have been radicalised, because they are good people. These parents are good people. They've raised their children well, to the best of their ability. But it only takes that one person to use religion and convince that child that their imam, that their school, that their mum and dad, that their older brothers and sisters have not been chosen. They are not worthy. I will bring you onto the true path. And sadly, I always say this, it's important for you to understand this. The only way to stamp out religious terrorism is through good religious education. If your child knows Islam well, then they will go, well, hang on a minute. There is no compulsion in Islam to wear a headscarf, so that's okay. My mum has a choice. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can't say that about my mum because she has a choice. It's her choice. No one can make my mother wear a headscarf. That's her choice, so you're wrong. Okay? Same with the beard. My father has a choice. So, but this comes back to critical thinking, teaching our young people to question what other people are saying to them online. Well, hang on a minute. You don't know my mum and dad. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know that my mum and dad came from another country here to give me a better life and they're good. My mum works really hard. My dad works hard. You know, we have to teach our children to question. So young people who have been radicalised, and we've had young people as young as 14 who have been radicalised, are just vulnerable. They might feel lonely, they might feel ostracised, they might have mental health issues, they might not be popular at school, okay? And if all of those things are compounded and one person comes into their life and says, you're special, God has chosen you, that young person will melt. That's how easy it is. I could probably go online and radicalise somebody. It's frightening.
So that means young people, so at first place, they have to educate widely regarding to their own religion and other religions as well.
Absolutely.
And the community around them.
And understand
the society
that, radicalisation is across all crime types. And a member of our team, Federal Agent Gerald Del Bono, was the arresting officer for Philip Galea, who was the first right-wing extremist. He was not Muslim. He hated Muslims. He hated anyone who wasn't Aussie. And he wanted to commit terrorist attacks towards them. So radicalisation happens across all faiths and all religions, and there's many different motivations. But unfortunately, within the Muslim community, we have to deal with people who have become radicalised through Islamic religious rhetoric. And unfortunately, understanding your own faith is the key. If you understand your own faith, you will go, well, hang on a minute, that's not true. You've only taken this from the Quran, you don't know all of it. Okay? That's the first thing. And the second thing is, the minute a child is told not to trust in their mum and dad anymore, I would say that that person is being groomed. So it's simple. If your children start pulling away from you or arguing back, and that can be just hormones too, but particularly if their behaviour changes and they start pulling away, then that's when I would say that it's very important for parents, imams, sheikhs to step in, and youth groups are really, really, really important. Youth groups are important because particularly young people will pull away from the older generation and say, you don't understand. You're not on Facebook, you don't understand. You don't understand. So it's important to connect with young people. I mean, you're young, which is great, and I'm sure you connect really, really well with your community, and that's a huge benefit. But in some communities, the community leaders are older and will just go, Facebook, it's haram. End of the story. It's not the end of the story. So connect with your young people, talk to your young people, but especially you need to tell your young people that if someone on the internet is telling you to go into the bedroom and talk to them or pull you away from them or start questioning you as a parent, then there's a really good chance you're being groomed in one way or another.
Okay. So another question is, comes to social media. So how much information too much to give away on the internet?
How much is too much? Look, I don't know that there's an answer to that. I think it comes down to how much time on social media should be allowed.
Okay, yeah, there was another question asking, so how much time our kids should spend on internet and what's the best way to approach them to follow the rules?
So I will give you the best example that I used. I was a pretty mean mother. My son was in year 10 and he was failing, year 10. And he wasn't trying hard, he was a very lazy boy. He would go into the bedroom, he would close the bedroom door and he would get onto Facebook. So one day I grabbed a screwdriver and I started to unscrew the hinges on the door. He said, Mum, what are you doing? I said, I've told you 1,000 times not to close your bedroom door. I want to check that you're doing your homework. And he said, don't be stupid. I said, I will take this door off if you close it one more time. The next day, he closed the door, he went in there, so that was it. I moved his desk and I moved his computer into the kitchen. And I put a mirror behind him.
Okay.
And from the kitchen, I could see what he was doing online. and I got him through year 10, 11 and 12. He finished year 12. But it was hard work. My daughter was easy. She just did hers. But my son was hard. I will say this. Unfortunately, a lot of young people have to use technology now for their homework. They have to use laptops. They have to research things online.
Yeah.
You know, back in our day, we took school books home. Everything was done. You had to look up chapter 16. These days, a lot of it is online. So I would just say, door should never be closed. If they can possibly do their their homework in the kitchen on the kitchen table, good. But if they have to go into the bedroom, the door should be open so that at any time the parent can walk in and see who they're talking to.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. So another question is, as you know, we get so much emails sometimes. And so how are you going to differentiate between the genuine emails
and the scammers? Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. You'll get scam emails and you'll also get scam messages. I get them too, the police get them as well, and we think it's quite funny that they send it to our phone, and sometimes we even get messages saying the Australian Tax Department is coming after you and the Australian Federal Police are going to arrest you. And they've rung me and said, the Australian Federal Police are going to arrest you, and I said, send them over, I'll put the kettle on. And then they hung up. If you get a text message and it says you've won $500, please click on this link. Press copy, then open up Google, press paste.
Yeah.
And then hit search and it will come up and it'll say scam. Okay, so you can use Google. So copy, paste onto Google, search. And it'll say this is a scam from Harvey Norman, this is a scam from Dyson vacuum cleaners, this is a scam from Coles, this is a scam from Woolworths, this is a scam from Myers, this is a scam from a federal police scam that says if you do not pay this money, the federal police are going to arrest you. We will never ring you up and ask you for money. The police will never, Victoria Police will never ring you up and ask you for money. Okay? If you have an issue with tax, it will come in the mail first or you might get a phone call. But it will never be you have to pay money over the phone, never. Okay? If you have any questions at all, enter it into Google. Also, if you get a phone call saying we're from Microsoft and you've got a virus, can you give us access to your computer? Do not ever let anyone have access to your computer. Ever.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. The question is a lot of Uyghur community members receiving phone calls from, and not just sometimes it's scam, it's from saying the taxation office, or most of the time it speaks Mandarin and saying that you have a document or package at Chinese embassy to, you have to call this number to.
Yeah, and I understand that that's really frightening to get that message, I'm sure, especially having family in China, it can make that really frightening. But don't ever respond to any message that's in another language to start with, okay? If you're going to get a message from an embassy, it'll be in English. And if you have any queries, I would say speak to another community leader like yourself, okay? But never respond to any of those until you've spoken to another person. Get a second opinion, okay? The Australian Embassy here, you could possibly call them, but honestly, it's not worth the call. Just dismiss, delete, block. If you start getting annoying phone calls, block them. You can actually hit the button and block, and so it might be worth doing another follow-up session around technology and how to block phone calls. Because if you can learn how to block phone calls, you can save yourself a lot of angst, a lot of pain. It's annoying.
Okay. So there is a general question saying that, so how are we going to teach our kids to be safe online? And if something goes wrong, so where we go to get the assistance?
Teaching your kids to be safe online comes back down to, we want your kids to be critical thinkers. We want them to think about, not act impulsively. So if someone messages them and says, hi, I think you're really hot, there's a really good chance that that person is a scammer or a pedophile. So think critically. That means be suspicious. Be suspicious, be afraid of these people online. If you hesitate, then you will buy yourself some time to think and sort through what your response is. Okay? So don't just respond. You saw that in that clip the little girl was messaged, she responded, someone sent her a friend request. She straight away said, yep, her name's Daisy. My name's Emily, we're friends. She shouldn't have even accepted the friend request because she didn't know. So think critically, be afraid of these people. Be very cautious. If you don't know that person, don't speak to them.
Okay, so sometimes on Facebook or even other social media platforms, you will get sometimes a friends request from people you don't know. So in that case, a lot of people say, okay, because more friends they have and more...
Yeah, they think it's competition of popularity. I'll tell you what I do. Because I'm an artist and I have an arts page on Facebook, people will always send me friend requests. Before I accept it, I look at their profile. I have a look at what kind of person they are.
Okay.
If I don't like what I see, I delete it.
So even sometimes they don't have even
suspicious.
pictures as well.
Then definitely don't accept it. If they're not prepared to send you a photograph of themselves because you've got one, then don't accept it. Don't accept it.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah.
So the question is, if some people, by sending message or some documents to our email or phone, and if we open up, so is that possibility they can afterwards listen to us or monitor us on the phone?
Look, it's unlikely. It's unlikely. You would have to have some very sophisticated technology
to do that.
for that.
Okay.
And I would say that unless you are a, secret agent, there's a good chance you'll be okay. Unfortunately, a lot of people can have the suspicion that they're being listened to, and I know that's a frightening thought.
Yeah.
But we go out to a lot of communities where people say, oh, we think someone's listening to us, we're a bit worried about that. And you know what I say to everybody? If you haven't done anything wrong, then there's a really good chance, then don't worry about it. Yeah.
Okay.
If you haven't done anything wrong, don't worry about it.
So the question was saying that what's the best virus or other,
antiviruses.
Antivirus,
They come out with new antiviruses probably every 4 months. There's a new antivirus. So what I would recommend is probably a new one now. There's some really great software and malware programs that you can install, and I would simply, if you go into JB Hi-Fi in particular or any computer store and ask them what the best one is, they will tell you what the latest one is that's out. So every time they update one, they have greater protective abilities. So just ask what the best one is. The person behind the counter will be able to tell you.
Okay, so the question is, what's the best way to prevent our phone or PC getting hacked?
Do not allow anyone to have access, and don't open any emails that have got links to them.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So you might get sent an email saying you're receiving a message, something from Australia Post. Click on this link. The trick, I received the same message, but it said Australian Post, not Australia Post. And I knew straight away it was false. But if I had clicked on that, then it would have led me to a website which could have accessed my phone information. So you have to be don't click on a link unless you know what it's from. If it comes from a random person or some name of a company that you've never heard of, just delete it. Just delete it. It's not worth even looking. Go, I'll just have a look. No, delete. Okay, that's the safest thing. It's hard to do because we're curious. What is this email? Who is this from? But just delete it. So.
Okay, so last question is, as you know, for Uyghur community in Australia, a lot of activity going on comes to human rights issues regarding to Uyghur people back home.
Yeah.
If someone just a member of a Uyghur community trying to talk to our community members so they can get in line with Chinese Communist Party's narratives comes to human rights, talk, just encourage them not to speak out. So what do we have to do regarding to this?
Look, that is a difficult one, and I feel for your community around that. I can't comment on what's happening politically across the globe, but I would just say that anyone who comes to Australia enjoys the freedom that Australia provides. And we are really blessed that we can sit here in a Jewish hall. I'm Muslim, you're Muslim, Trudy's Christian, Peter's probably Christian, not sure what Kim is, let's say she's Hindu. But we can sit in this place and religion doesn't matter because we're all Australians helping Australians.
Exactly.
When you come to Australia, you have the right to freedom of speech, and you can practice your faith, and you are entitled to your own opinion, and no one else can tell you how to feel or what to think or what to say. Okay? So I would simply say that we're very blessed to live in Australia. If you have an opinion, that is yours and no one can take that from you. Okay? So no one else should come up to you and say to you, no, you shouldn't say that. You know, unless you're inciting violence, that's a crime, then freedom of speech is one of the most wonderful things about Australia.
Exactly. So I feel the same, the tolerance of diversity in this country it's beautiful.
Well, I'm going to say this. I don't use the word tolerance anymore because no one wants to be tolerated. I don't tolerate you, I accept you.
Accept you.
Acceptance. And also remember that in Australia we're a fruit salad. Okay? We have lots of different flavours and together we're amazing. So we're not all the same, but together we are amazing. So thank you all for your time.
Yes, thank you very much. On behalf of the Uyghur community in Australia, I would like to express my appreciation to Federal Police, Victoria Police, especially Jewish community Hatzola, for, put so much effort to make this happen and sacrifice your Sundays for us.
Yes.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.